Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is Laughin' Games here. I'm back with another Starcraft EVO cast. And for those of you wondering what that is, it is Starcraft Broodwar versus Starcraft 2, brought to us by perhaps one of the coolest mods that has ever been created in Starcraft history. That's right, we have got ourselves a best of 3 between two incredible pro Starcraft 2 players, so it's going to be a very high-level match. It is going to be Spirit in game number 1 playing Broodwar Terran up against SHIN, the killer Starcraft 2 Korean Zerg, and he is playing Zerg. So I think it may be a bit of an uphill battle for this blue Terran, unless Spirit has something very special up his sleeve. But that's exactly what we're here to do today. That is to check out this mod and see just what sort of strategies players can come up with when playing with Broodwar units. We saw in the previous casts a very, very cool Irradiate play by Milky Cow. And who knows, maybe Spirit's going to go for a similar strategy, as it could definitely be effective against someone like SHIN, who likes to make lots of lings and roaches. I think that, yeah, Irradiate would be a very effective spell. And so, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already, leave a comment down below saying potatoes or just more 2v2, more Broodwar, what race you think is most OP in the SC EVO mod. So far, it's tough to say. There's so many good things about all the races. Now, we do have a very cool build from Spirit. He's electing to go for a command center first, but not a low ground wall off. Interestingly enough, he's like, yep, CC first. I don't need a wall though. And then he's just going to start pumping out Marines. So bio play really is the play that Terrans have been going for in TvZ as Broodwar players, as it seems to give Terran that early game pressure to keep the Zerg down, which I think is very important. If you just mech'd up and played slow like a Broodwar meching Terran, you might have a hard time against StarCraft 2 Zerg. And so we're going to see whether SHIN can do something to maybe catch Spirit off guard, hard counter these early Marines. We do have 4 lings coming in for SHIN, although Spirit's already got 3 Marines out, so he's got a very nice defensive opening there. The quick natural command center already building his economy up. SHIN, though, does have that 3rd hatchery building. And then look at this, Spirit already going for 3 fire bats thanks to this academy that he's produced. And that is going to be a very powerful push potentially if he moves on out relatively quickly. SHIN may be trying to just pump out drones when all of a sudden he'll have to contend with the fiery inferno of fire bats. For those of you wondering about this best of 3 format, the players will switch races, I believe, after this match. I'm not sure if it's a coin flip or what, as far as who plays what race, but it is always Broodwar versus StarCraft 2 with this format. And so we may get Spirit playing SC2 Terran versus SHIN Broodwar Zerg, which would be very nice to see. But man, oh man, Spirit is really just going ham on the fire bats, maybe onto something, as they have seemed pretty good anytime we've seen him. But this is ridiculous. He's already got 6. He's going up to 9. No stim pack, no medivacs to support this. Then a 3rd command center behind it. So just a very early push. And SHIN is quite unprepared for this. He's only got queens and lings to defend against this now. The Marines don't have any stim pack, neither do the fire bats. But in comes the Terran player. The fire bats get nice and close to that hatchery, cooking it up. SHIN is retreating with the queens, and the fire bats are pursuing the queens. Gonna start trying to roast and toast them, as SHIN does have slowlings popping on out. It does seem that Spirit's attack is being countered quite nicely by SHIN. No queens have died. There's the first one going down, but look at how injured all these fire bats are. The lack of medivacs may be hurting Spirit a little bit, and SHIN's defense is rather solid in this match. Spirit's got stim on the way behind this now, but still no medics produced. And so all in all, a very solid defense with queens. Just not enough damage output from those fire bats. Very good micro from SHIN pulling the queens away from the fire bats. Spirit, though, does have that 3rd command center finished now, so he'll be able to float that over when he likes to. as he just goes into medics, goes into stim. We'll see if he gets the extended range upgrade for his Marines after this, and possibly some extra racks going down. But as I say that, he invests in 2 factories, so the plan is to go into tanks and potentially mech behind this, which I definitely don't mind, as I think you do need tanks, as bio definitely has limited duration for how good it is in the game, because you don't have the medivacs to drop with in Broodwar. So let's see, Spirit, he's investing in a supply depot for scouting. Looks like he's trying to find this Overlord and kill it off potentially. Does he have a racks floating on over? Yes, he does. That's going to allow Spirit to kill this off. If Shin was on it, he may have realized those Marines were over there, and he could have potentially got them in to kill the Overlord, or to kill the Marines, killing the Overlord. But in the end, Spirit is able to pick that off. He's also adjusting his wall by lifting his barracks off, and then just going into Vultures behind this. +1 attack on the way. He is getting siege mode research, but Vultures potentially with Spider Mines down the line could be very, very strong. Spirit's also going for a 4th command center, which is awesome to see, as he's a very macro-heavy Terran in Starcraft 2, and he's transferring that into his Broodwar play as he takes these extra gases now. Gonna have a nice and strong economy. 62 SCVs against 66 drones. That's not bad at all for the Terran, as he just continues to invest in this wall, as you gotta deal with Banelings when you're playing Broodwar Terran against Starcraft 2 Zerg, and that is not something that, of course, Broodwar Terran was originally designed for, but many of the tricks still apply. Building those walls, tank positioning, that kind of thing. We've got ion thrusters to increase the Vulture movement speed. That's really going to help them out. Spider Mines being researched. For those of you wondering about how Spider Mines work, if you're not a big Broodwar player, basically, they're single use. So each Vulture only spawns with 3 Spider Mines. I honestly can't recall if there's an upgrade to increase the spawning amount, but they deal tremendous amounts of damage, as it is, look at that, 125 versus armor. That is just enough to one-shot a lot of things in the game. We do have Lings for Shin poking on in. He's got Banelings being produced, but he really will have to respect these Spider Mines, as I do believe they deal splash damage as well. We'll have to keep eyes on that. Spirit investing in tanks, getting 1-1, getting up yet another command center, so really just macroing super duper hard. The Zerg is just going up to 5 bases, but so is the Terran. Fire bats, of course, are enough to dissuade the Lings from coming on in, although maybe not. Spirit retreating to his mines, but look at that, they annihilate the Zerglings as they just destroyed them. Spirit types, question mark. Oh my gosh, he annihilated the army of Shin with those Spider Mines. You guys thought Widow Mines were bullcrap? Check it, get a load of these. Now, fortunately, once those mines are placed, they're gone, but it just goes to show that massling styles may not be super viable, so we may need to see Shin go into something that's a little bit stronger, say Lurkers, bring Overseers all over the place so he can split against the Spider Mines. Spirit, though, does have more tanks being produced. He's getting more and more command centers out. It's crazy to see a Terran player going up to, what is this, 6 bases already. The tank is going to get surrounded by the Lings. A bit of friendly fire going down as well. Broodwar tanks have themselves 13.5 range. Very high damage, slower rate of fire than Starcraft 2 tanks. We get Spirit investing in turrets. Looks like Shin's going for Vipers, so using traditional Starcraft 2 Zerg anti-mech tech, up to 93 drones, so he's got a very, very strong economy. And we are getting Cloak on the way for Spirit, so he's going to have the ability to cloak his Wraiths. And that could be big for the Terran, as they can potentially hunt down those Vipers. We'll see. They can always harass the Zerg, filling the role of the Banshee, as we've now got Hydras. Vipers on the way for Shin. He's at 92 workers, so he can really just pump out tons and tons of units. He's got the Hive done, so he can get things like adrenal glands. He's also getting glial reconstitution, so roach speed. Nice contaminate by Shin onto the starport. He also sees that there is a Wraith out, so he's going to be aware of that. Wraiths have decent anti-air fire. Not the best ground or air-to-ground fire, though, as they are quite slow. Enough to kill drones off, but the anti-air may be what Spirit's going for. We'll have to keep eyes on that, And let's see, we got more spider mines going down to defend this 6th base location of the Terran. I did not expect the game to go like this. This is a complete pivot from other SC EVO matches we've seen. Like, SHIN is being... Well, SHIN has been rather passive, but Spirit has been incredibly passive, just building up tanks, playing mech. The Zerg is coming in now, looking to hit this base. An Abduct goes down on a tank, but there's many more tanks to move forward. Vultures can also engage the Hydras a little bit, although most of them do go down. Blinding Cloud hitting the army of the Terran. That's actually preventing some of these tanks from firing. So Spirit is losing a little bit of supply. He's got more tanks coming on in, and SHIN has to wait for reinforcements to pop out. And it just goes to show that players are unsure of how engagements may go in this match. We do have those Vultures trying to chase away some of the Overseers. Spirit really needs to split up his tanks, but he has a tremendous amount of siege tanks in the back line right now. So I don't think SHIN's going to be able to push this any further. How many tanks does Spirit have out? 13 tanks, plus 2 attack, plus 2 armor on the way. We're getting Charon boosters, so he can potentially go into Goliaths to have the anti-air from them. Help zone out the Vipers, as the Vipers are coming forward once again, getting more blinding clouds off. SHIN has a high amount of them, and they're not really being punished at all. There's 1 Wraith out, but that's actually getting chased away. Pardon me, 3 Wraiths. They're all just getting zoned out by the Hydras. As SHIN continues to push on in, Spirit's attempting to keep this base set up. A few tanks do pad forward through the blinding cloud, though that's not ideal. And it looks like SHIN may be able to get a base of Spirit, which could be the beginning of something. We'll have to wait and see. But man, Spirit does hold on. More and more tanks being produced. Look at that, 7 siege tanks at a time. That is ridiculous for the Terran. Seeing as how powerful Broodwar tanks are, that is no joke. Resources lost. SHIN hasn't taken the best trades. And this is almost unconventional for Spirit, because he usually is a bio Terran. So seeing him play mech and just sort of chill with tanks is cool to see in Brood War. So feeling confident enough in the Brood War race and units that he can play late game. He's even looking to secure up yet another base when it's been such a battle to defend that current one. Look at that, Goliaths do manage to pick off 2 of the Vipers, though. That's really going to keep his tank safe, and SHIN is going to have a hard time coming in. The Zerg has been attacking despite not really being maxed out. We've got more Vipers coming on in, Vultures chasing away these Hydras, Widow Mines, pardon me, Spider Mines getting placed on down by the Terran. And this map is getting to the point that it's being completely taken. What's there? 4 more bases up for grabs, so 2 more bases for each player. They're both on an incredible economy. Bad pathing for SHIN as some of his Hydras path right by some siege tanks. Spirit is now getting aggressive on his opponent. Look at those Brood War attack animations, the cool Brood War sound as well, as Spirit doesn't have to go far from this, 6 base to push towards one of SHIN's bases. SHIN is producing more Roaches and Hydras, but no Broodlords, no Infestors. There is a Spire building now, so that could potentially help him out. But he really has... he's kind of played into Spirit's composition a little bit, and Spirit has a fairly well-rounded army. The Wraiths to zone out the Vipers, the Vultures on the ground for mobility and harassment, that kind of thing. We see many Vultures on the left side potentially wanting to harass later on. There's lots of Queens and Spines, but I think Vultures are not bad against the Spines. They're not exactly great against the Queens, though. As we see, SHIN isn't even transfusing because he's busy going for an attack on the front lines, catching some of the tanks, catching some of the Vipers, pushing Spirit away from his base, which is very important. Mass abducts going down. He does accidentally abduct his own Changeling. Just goes to show how fast these guys are playing. We do have a nice tank line for Spirit, though, but SHIN does a good job holding on. There is +3 attack about to finish up for Spirit, but +3 armor was never started. There's also a single Roach harassing down here. 2 Spider Mines going off on it, though. As, let's see, more Roaches coming in to harass. SCVs being pulled into the Roaches. We see how slow these tanks fire trying to clean this up. They deal massive amounts of damage. Look at that, but all the SCVs are dead. At least the tank is able to avenge them. In comes SHIN once again, pushing into the base of Spirit. Spirit has many Goliaths, which are not the best, I believe, ground to ground against the Hydras and Roaches, but the anti-air zoning out the Vipers is very big, and Goliaths have incredible range. They have 8 attack range with that upgrade that allows them to shoot from the ground to the air. We have SHIN using Hydralisk Lunge to get on top of a lot of the tanks of Spirit that were a little late to siege, so quite a nice pickoff for the Zerg. I mean, he does lose maybe a few Vipers and Overseers, but not much. A great trade for the Zerg. Shin, though, did lose that hatchery, so his economy might not be the best. He's really just pushed back a little bit, as taking the forward bases is quite difficult. Meanwhile, Spirit building one on location on the right. It just goes to show that these players are not as well-rounded as they are in StarCraft 2, even when they're playing their StarCraft 2 races, because they're up against completely different units than they're used to fighting. Shin's a little bit unsure what to do right now, it seems. Hydralisk Grunge to engage the Goliaths, but man, oh man, Spirit has a massive tank line. There's no chance of a flank behind this dude, all the spider mines, and I think Shin may be regretting maybe not getting Broodlords or something, but look at that, the Goliaths are just annihilating the Vipers. There's no counterattack by Shin. He's going to lose another hatchery. There is Lurkers to sort of stall this out a little bit, which is quite important. They're high range to help zone away the Terran army, but man, oh man, Shin just got knocked down to 5 bases. He's building another hatchery. He's maxed out, but he does not have a big economy to back this up. I do like how the Zerg is moving out to potentially get some damage done. He did scout this building base of Spirit. He should be able to kill it off. More Lurkers are being produced for Shin, and if Lurkers can just burrow on top of the Terran army, say when it's unsieged or when the Goliaths are out of position, that would be huge. But it's going to be difficult to catch this unsieged. The Spirit has 32 tanks. Unless he's a complete moron with his positioning, it's going to be quite difficult to deal with this many. There's 30 Hydras out against 30 tanks, the 10 Lurkers, but only 1 Viper left. We've even got some Wraiths harassing a little bit, more and more tanks moving forward for Spirit. Look at this. This is so many darn tanks. It's ridiculous as Spirit shuffles them forward. He is just embracing the mech, meching it happen. We have Shin going for a Nidus network. It may be a little too late, but Terran has very little static defense. Well, they've got literally no static defense or no production for Spirit right now, since he's just about maxed out. So a counterattack with Hydras would be big, but Shin's going to be in trouble just trying to defend this location right now. After all, it's still 34 tanks out for the Zerg. Spirit's got a huge bank behind this. He's been able to take many, many bases, more than Shin has. Shin is not going to be able to replace the units he has. Look at that. A few blinding clouds go down, but the tank line probably goes back to all the way to Spirit's main base. It's just ridiculous. I do believe the Terran is going to take this game. I'm not sure how Shin can come back from this one. The Nidus attempt was a little bit too late to get off, and so Spirit takes game number 1 in this best of 3. Phenomenal Broodwar Terran mech. I know I'm sure a lot of Zergs are rolling their eyes in the comments going, oh god, mech was bad enough before, but how about Broodwar mech? Well, mech is one of those compositions that in times of less stability in the meta, that's where it really shines. So I'm sure StarCraft 2 Zergs will get better at dealing with Broodwar Terran mech. Looks like Spirit is actually rolling with the Broodwar Terran once more. Shin, StarCraft 2 Zerg. So a similar match as we had before. We'll see if Shin can do something different to potentially bring it back. Maybe Spirit likes playing Broodwar Terran. I don't know. I'll have to read up on the rules for the SC EVO as far as that's concerned, how the maps are decided, because sometimes it flips, sometimes it doesn't. And of course, these are all collected replays, so there sometimes is the odd mistake here and there. It looks like Shin is sending in a very early drone. Gonna be maybe cheesing Spirit out? It looks like he is. I think this is going to be Shin bringing a StarCraft 2 special to a Broodwar Terran, and he has read Spirit perfectly, as Spirit wanted to go for a very quick command center, but no, that is not going to happen. As an SCV finds that CC, Spirit has to pull many more SCVs off the line, but look at this. He's just going to build the command center right next to it. Shin can literally see that and go, what are you doing? As Spirit didn't even panic and build up a Rax or two, so if Shin throws up a Roach Warren or something, that would be huge for him, but I suppose Spirit just figures he can deal with this with his SCVs, pulling 5 SCVs against the hatchery. The Rax is just going up now, though, but if a Queen or some Lings get out, Spirit's going to have nothing to answer to them. I guess he just knows how many SCVs he needs to pull, as he is working away on this hatchery quite effectively. Shin just has to expand behind this, so I guess Spirit really knows what he's doing with this kind of build. And it's the initial scout on it was so quick that SCVs have been drilling away on this hatchery for so long. Shin may be able to produce a few Lings from the larva, which would be good, but the Rax are relatively close to finishing on up, and so there should be some Marines out. Shin actually just cancels the hatchery and just says, yep, there's nothing I can do about that. The drone does go into the main base, But all in all, SHIN delayed his own tech. Spirit can just lift off and land the command center. That is a phenomenal start for the Terran. Then the racks are starting to roll already, but look at that. Yeah, SHIN, his build did not work at all. I was all excited. I'm like, he's going to build roaches and spine crawlers and queens and cheese the heck out of Spirit, but in the end, he actually just elected to go for the hatchery right close to Spirit's base, and well, literally at his natural location to block the command center. But Spirit just knew that he could get away with that CC first. He knew, like, it's not like you went pool first and then into the hatchery, or pool then immediately or hatchery then immediately pool, pardon me. So we see SHIN just on one base now, waiting for his natural to finish up. It finally finishes up. He's got the third building, but I am a little concerned for SHIN based off that opening. Spirit seems to be in a very, very good spot at the start of this match, and what a match it is. Yeah, Spirit just really, really having a great start. He's going into that bio once again. He does have the 3 racks up. He is getting range on the Marines this time, so going away from the Fire Bats that didn't have the best start in the match, but he was able to win with macroing it out. So this time, just pure Marines with range. Gonna be the strategy. SHIN behind this doesn't have any units being made. Really, just the queens. Fuelings are out. They can potentially scout out. SHIN doesn't have to deal with a Reaper, so I'm not really sure why he's keeping these Lings at home, as... yeah, he doesn't have to worry about that at all. Maybe just worried about a push from the Marines and the Fire Bats on the front lines. We did previously see a Zerg, I believe it was Rumiath, invest in a Spine Crawler. That really helped to defend against this Fire Bat Marine push. But look at this, Spirit. He does find himself the Overlord. That's quite nice, as you can actually lift off the eBay in Broodwar. So Broodwar Terran can lift off their engineering bays if they place them in the wrong spot, or use them to kill off an Overlord. That's something that Starcraft 2 Terran lost, which I think is one of the reasons why this mod is so entertaining, is that not everything from Broodwar transferred over to Starcraft 2. For example, there's the Goliath, there's the Foot Medics, that kind of thing. And so it's not like it's just like, oh, here's this watered down version of the Starcraft 2 races. No, Blizzard changed so much when Starcraft 2 came out that it's like, it was a different game. It wasn't just a new game, it was a different game. And that's one of the things that made it very cool, and probably why Starcraft 2 was so successful. And now we're gonna see whether Spirit can make use of some of those Broodwar mechanics again, as he does have those Fire Bats out. And it is kind of interesting how we did get some of the Broodwar spells and units back over time. Like, we eventually got the Lurker back. I mean, so that was pretty neat to see. But other than that, I guess we didn't get too much other old spells that were back. We got Microbial Shroud on the Infestor, that kind of thing. But yeah, let's see, as Spirit is looking to potentially move out, maybe just to secure up the space, whereas SHIN is planning on getting aggressive. He had made a name for himself in StarCraft 2 with Roach Ravager Ling Floods, and he's going to be trying to do that again. Now, it's all going to come down to the Corrosive Biles here, I think, because the Terran bio is quite strong, but man, oh man, we may even be having a bit of a base race right now as SHIN moves on in. Spirit knows he's going to be in trouble, and I think he's got to commit to the base race right now, as there's no drones at that third base. And SHIN is all in, but he changes his mind. He pulls back some of his units to try and defend this, which he's going to try and middle ground it. So many Lings for the Zerg are going to get a wraparound on this Terran force, but the Fire Bats just absolutely melt them. The Queens are doing work behind this, but it's almost like SHIN went around that the wrong way, and that he sent the units that could deal with the Fire Bats to attack, and the Lings that could have potentially attacked right now on the other side of the map. Spirit does get repulsed, though, by the Queens, more Roaches that are building, and the Terran is in a little bit of trouble, as there is Ravagers and Roaches at his natural base. 6 SCVs have died. This eBay could be in trouble. Spirit needs to lift that off. He does. He cancels it. Unfortunately, you do have to cancel the upgrades to lift them off, so it's not some major cheat by the Terran where they could just float their researching eBays to the bottom corner of the map and never have to worry about them. Spirit does come on in. He's going for an attack with these Fire Bats, with the mass medics to heal them up. He tried to get the third base. There is quite a few Roaches to respond to this. Fire Bats are quite tanky against Roach attacks, particularly with the medic support, so SHIN trying to chase that down, but he does lose his third base, and he just types on out. Spirit is able to take it. GG, as Spirit takes the 2-0 victory against his opponent. As, yeah, I'm just going to quickly pull up the Liquipedia here to make sure that that was the proper result. Spirit versus Shin. Yeah, it was a 2-0. Okay, I was just a little bit confused because some of the replays seemingly, like, I guess they throw in a third replay, maybe just to keep the packs like maxed out. For example, there's a third game, but I believe it's just a copy of game number 1, maybe. Yeah, it's just a copy of game number 1. They do that. So that is the result. Spirit 2-0'd Shin. Incredibly well done. Yeah, the counterattack failed. I think that was quite a decision fault for Shin. Say he sent the Roaches home to defend and then had the Lings and the Ravagers attacking. He probably would have done a better job defending that, but in the end, it's not easy to do. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this match, go ahead, click that like button, leave a comment down below, subscribe, as this is a new channel, and I'm trying to put out daily videos, so that helps a lot. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for tuning on in.